Council Preview Program. I'm Tom Loucks, Director of Communications, City of Marshfield, and we're going to talk about our May 23rd Common Council meeting, and I have City Administrator Steve Barg to my right and Mayor Lois TeStrake to my left. Thanks for coming.
Glad to be here, Tom. We're going into that season that is so exciting here in Marshfield with a lot of special events, festivals, Band-Aid waters, the splash pad, a lot of great things.
Exactly. It's a lot of work for us too. Coming up, our schedules are getting full with more stuff, so that's good. And we get that information out to the public that way. Well, let's dig right in. We were going through stuff earlier before this program, and we might as well start right away with the mayor. Employee recognitions.
Yes, we're excited to congratulate Kayla Wolf as an ordinance officer for 5 years. This is a huge deal. There's a lot of things that these two individuals do, and working hand in hand, and all the new stuff coming up with the chicken ordinance, just everything happening. Kayla, congratulations on 5 years. Hope you're here another 5, 10, 15, 20. Who knows? 35 maybe.
Already.
Kayla's getting tired hearing that.
Yes,
right now.
I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alrighty, well, sounds good. Thank you for that, Lois. Well, let's get right into a new piece that we've had in the last month or so, our city administrator's update, and you can just share a few things on that.
Yeah, Tom, I think the main one I really want to share at this point that I know I'll be talking about on Tuesday night involves the chicken ordinance. Plan Commission had a good meeting the other night and had some good discussion. I'll talk about where they're headed in a minute, but I want to thank you in particular and David and all the work you guys do, in this case related to getting survey information. What does the public think? I might talk to my neighbors or somebody I know from church or something, but I really don't get a good feel about are people favorable or not favorable. We got over a couple thousand responses, I think, and not just the check the box, but a lot of comments on what people are thinking, good, bad, or otherwise. After the people spoke at the podium, the commission had a chance to talk for a little bit. They've got some questions. They've got some concerns they want to look at. But I think overall, they seem to be favorable toward some version of this ordinance getting passed. And that would be something that would allow people to have up to 4 chickens, most assuredly it appears, in their yard with a well-constructed coop and those kind of things. But stay tuned. Details will yet to be worked out. And ultimately, this will have to go to the council, as the Plan Commission does not have the final say. So keep an eye on this as we go through the summer to see if it makes it to the finish line.
Alrighty, well, we'll see if it gets on the next agenda for Plan Commission, which is our third, Tuesday of the month?
Correct, yep, and it may well be on that agenda for more discussion.
All right, we'll see you at that time, and then look forward to the rest of your comments at our council meeting that you'll be bringing up under that city administrator's update.
Yeah, it's a good time for me to be able to talk about what's going on, whether it's personnel, coming on board, or whether it's successes, sometimes maybe a grant award that we've received. A good time to share that information.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's move right into consent agenda. There's a few pieces that I had circled in here, and what we can do, Steve, is go through those and start with the first one that's on there that you would like to bring up.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Marshfield Utilities Review Committee, and you're probably thinking at home, what? I know the city has a lot of committees, but what's this one about? This one was created, I think, late last fall and then kicked off right after the first of the year. Looking at the fact that the utilities, and that's our electric and water utility, they do a wonderful job, that they have monies in different funds that they keep, and of course they always ask for rate increases when they need to the Public Service Commission. So they're kind of separate but part of us. They're under the city's umbrella, but they kind of act independently, and it's highly technical, when you look at electric rates and all the things. But there have been thoughts about whether or not there might be some monies from there that could be shared with the city in general to help the city coffers and help the city budget. And we don't want to cut utilities short. I mean, we certainly want to make sure that the rates are fair for everybody and that we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. But there's been 4 meetings on this now. Lois, you've been at some of the meetings talking about, are there really excess funds that can be shared? And it appears there may be some. The city might be able to get a little bit more dividend money, maybe a little bit of their interest earnings, that kind of thing. So I think we're coming down near the finish line. The Utilities Commission talked about it last week. This committee will meet again now next week. And then I think by June you might see something coming to the council. So I'm kind of prepping you for the fact that that's what it's about. It's about whether or not some dollars could come from our utility to help offset financial challenges that the city has overall with its budget.
So Currently, the utility does provide a dividend to EDB. Is that correct?
They do. First of all, they provide what's called a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. And that's basically saying, look, if we were a for-profit entity, this is what we would pay in taxes to the city. And that's statutorily required. But they do give us around $250,000 a year, Tom, in a dividend. It's pass-through money from a dividend they get from a company called ATC, Automatic Transmission Company. And then they keep some of it for themselves to do projects as well. So what they're looking at is maybe giving the city a little bit more of that money and then a little bit of investment earnings, which will help economic development, but it will help operations in general. We could use it potentially for, depending on how this is structured, we could use it for streets or other things. So, it's one of those things. I think the mayor and the council are going to be real cautious about not wanting to say, well, let's take everything they'll give us,
Correct.
Because we're all ratepayers too. We all want to make sure that the utility is being run well. But if there actually is any excess money that could be used, it's worth talking about.
All right. Again, we're talking about minutes that were placed here in our consent agenda.
Right.
So there probably was a meeting held on April 24th, and you're saying there'll probably be another one coming up shortly.
There is before the end of the month. And again, I'm just trying to get people thinking about this because you probably will see this maybe in June, more likely in July, and just wondering what it's about. But I want you to know the two entities work together well. We're really one entity. There is no separate legal entity called Marshfield Utilities, but that we're in tandem, we're in sync, and we're trying to figure out if there's a way that some of those dollars might be available, lawfully available to help the city proper.
All right, sounds good, thank you. Let's talk about finance budget personnel piece in here that had to do with emergency medical service. I think that's what it means, or maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah,
it's a billing and collection.
It is, and Lois was not on board when we went to a private collection service. Back in, I think, 2017. What we did was we used to have ambulance billing and collection done in-house. And then we got the idea that there's a lot of cities and villages across the state, a lot, who use an outside firm called LifeQuest out of Watoma. And they do a great job. They do the billing and collections. People were concerned at first about, what if I'm calling 1-800 blah, blah, blah. They don't even know where central Wisconsin is, and they're not going to know who I am. We really haven't had those kind of problems. The dispatchers, the people who work for the company, are very good at handling calls and making sure that customer needs are met, and they do follow up on the collection. So, Lois, I don't know if you get any calls. I don't get any calls of complaints about the billing and collection service.
I do not.
Okay, and we have a first-rate ambulance service. I
Absolutely.
think that's worth talking about for a second too.
Yes, absolutely. We're over the top lucky to have our EMS guys, the whole department, because they can do anything. So if there's 10 guys out here and you need 4 to this, they can just jump in and do it all. We're kind of spoiled,
Yeah.
but in a good way. And why not?
Yeah.
And it shows with them, and they just shine through. It's just, how proud can we be of them? Absolutely.
And when you look at how trained they are, how well,
Correct.
The courses that they go to, the specialized training that they attend, I mean, this is more than a regular ambulance service. These people can do a lot of things in the ambulance that a lot of other private carriers can't.
Correct.
Because they've been properly trained.
Right.
So in this case, the billing and collections, that's another thing. Maybe leave that to somebody who's done it for a long time. But we want to have another contract with them. The current one expires at the end of this month, so we need a little more time to work out the details of an extension.
All right. Just to clarify, when they talk about billing, it's usually generally like an ambulance call, maybe a fire. The private resident would have to pay. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what does it cost for an ambulance to come out to your place and transport you to the clinic or somewhere else? And that's what we're talking about. And what services did they provide? I mean, were they in the ambulance giving you IVs? What services were they providing that were medical in nature beyond just getting you to the hospital or clinic?
Okay, so the crew actually has to provide all that detail tied back to LifeClip.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work.
There are a lot of codes involved,
Okay.
and and then of course you have the whole thing with Medicare and Medicaid.
Yep.
That introduces a new element of trickiness in how the bills are handled. So I think it's a good thing we have a provider. I respect the great work our staff did when we did it in-house, but I think we want to look at negotiating a contract to continue with LifeQuest.
Okay, sounds good. All right, those are the pieces that we had under consent that we pulled out. There are more in there. Anybody can look at it once this agenda is posted on Friday afternoon on our city website. Let's talk about a municipal insurance partnership What is that about?
Well, we're going to get a presentation by a gentleman by the name of Daryl Zelensky. He's with LWMMI, as we call them. That is the Municipal Insurance Partnership through the League. And this kind of came out of a couple things. First of all, it's good for the council. We have 4 new council members in 2023. Brian Giles and now 3 that were just recently elected. To understand what insurances do we have? Our property, errors and omissions, for example. So in other words, if one of the council members or the mayor maybe makes a mistake, they're covered. I mean, under their official duties. What about workers' comp? What about all these things? So they're going to walk through the coverages that they have with us, how they operate, how they get a good deal, because they have all the cities across the state, a lot of them, not all of them, and then take questions. Now this came up in part because Mike O'Reilly, one of our council members, had said, well, are we trying to get local firms involved? We want to keep as much business local
Correct.
as we can, right, Lois?
Yes, sir.
And we can do that, and we will be bidding it out as he suggested, but we do want them to know what's all involved with these insurances so they understand who is qualified, what types of things they have to meet for requirements, and get a handle around that just from a presentation.
All right. So our insurance carrier for pretty much everything, I don't know if it's auto and everything, League of Municipalities?
The vast majority, it's the property liability stuff, not the health insurance, but the property liability and related insurances we have through LWMMI.
Well, there's a lot. There's vehicle to you name
there
it.
is.
So that's going to take some time to...
Right, and there may be members of the council who ask how the rates are determined, or, are we pooled with everybody? What if Eau Claire and Stevens Point are having bad years? Does that affect us? Just a sense of how they do their work for the grouping as a whole.
All right. Well, let's move down to the Buffalo building. If anybody doesn't know what that is, we're working on a feasibility study for the PD. And that was a building right now that would be donated. It's not done as of all right now because they have to do a feasibility study, right, to make sure it's doable.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. It's a company called ADCI is doing it. They're out of southern Wisconsin. We had 3 bidders, and they were just under $40,000. They have a lot of experience. I understand members of our team weren't familiar with them at first, but they went down and visited some of the stations that they'd done, talked to the people, got rave reviews. So what's happening on Tuesday night is really transferring the money from another source to cover that cost, because we didn't plan for it.
Correct.
We didn't even know the building was going to be offered at no cost to us when the year started. Right. But I think the bigger picture, I'm assuming the council will likely approve the resolution to pay for this study that they've authorized, is where is this going and what does it mean in the big picture? If the police station does move to the south end, that frees up that building. Well, what does that mean to the downtown? What does that mean to the 2nd Street corridor? Because now suddenly the Baltus building, where we have some storage of police vehicles, we probably won't need that if we can move those vehicles farther south. So there's a whole lot of puzzle pieces that might come from this. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now, we don't know. The building might be free, but what if they say, to renovate that building?
It's going to cost you
big dollars.
Way more than what it's worth. Right.
And then you have to add garages potentially. We may end up saying, you know what, this is way more expensive than we thought. But when you start out with a free donation of a property, it's a good start.
It's a huge deal. Absolutely.
So.
Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. Really, it's just a transfers of money right now. So, and once that's done, then we'll know more once a feasibility study would be accomplished, and which maybe, hopefully, if this all goes through, it would be in June or July.
Yeah, I think they figure it's going to be a few months. I don't think they're expecting a long term, but I would think that by the fall we'll be seeing the results of this and where we're going.
Sounds good. All right. Well, this is the second reading by our attorney, Harold Wolfgram, dumping of garbage. And what is this about?
This is going to sound really weird. I don't know how else to say it, but there's some things that we all assume are illegal that if you look at the ordinance, it's not crystal clear. And if you're an attorney, everything needs to be crystal clear. So when I looked at this the first time, I thought, you can't dump garbage in other people's containers. Well, of course not. But there's nothing that says it so clearly as we want it to. And the purpose here is if a lot of people abuse the dumpsters at apartment buildings at downtown, well, you know what? Hey, I got a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to stuff it in here at Walmart or Target or whatever. And they may dump in places after hours. That has never been intended to be legal, but this will make it painfully clear. The same thing with private garbage cans. And if you were to go walking down the street, even if somebody's got a garbage can down by the curb and they put it down there for the sole reason that they want it collected, you still can't walk by and throw it.
Correct.
And the reason is because, first of all, it might contain materials that aren't even lawful to dump. Secondly, it's a service that you're using somebody else's service wrongly to do.
Correct.
So,
the homeowner is paying, so why should the homeowner pay for someone else to put their garbage in their garbage? I mean, if they say yes, that's great, but yeah, it is, and you're right, it is a little weird, yeah.
It is. But I'm going to get right down to the real nitty-gritty and talk about dog poop for a second.
There you go.
People walk out, well, I got my dog poop.
Just fling it in,
I've got 3 more blocks to go down. I'm just going to stuff it in this guy's garbage container. But, there may be an issue with the odor staying. There may be an issue with whatever it is. That's not lawful to do. So this will make it clear that and you say, well, how will people know? They might see the person. They might get a license plate. In some cases, if a person pulls up by a business and just starts dumping, there are various ways that we might find out who it is. We just want it known that if you do this and you're caught, it is clearly against the law, no question.
So you say against the law. So this would be enforced by police, not ordinance, most likely.
Well, I think it could be enforced by ordinance as well. Okay. And there would be fines and penalties the same way there are for other types of municipal code violations.
Okay. And this all garbage, it would be business and residential.
Correct. And I know when I was in the Twin Cities, I actually did some of that work that ordinance officers do. And sometimes we would even find somebody would dump a bunch of bags in some container, and we'd find letters that, to their name, or identifying things that called out clearly. The person who dumped, you could tell from the envelope, they lived at 305 Elm Street, and we were able to go back and charge them with illegal dumping. But the only way you can do that is if you made it very clear in the law that to use somebody else's container without their permission is in fact a violation.
Correct.
All right, so that is the second reading, and then the language is going to be drafted into this ordinance, or is in this ordinance.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So once that is approved, is it good?
Yeah, it has to be published in the official newspaper, and upon being published, it's effectively the law of the land, so to speak, for the city of Marshfield.
All right. Well, bless you.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
I wanted to say it, but
wow,
I was
2
talking.
times over. Yeah.
No worries. All right. Well, we'll see what happens with that. I don't think that would be any issue, but we'll see. All right. We have a few more pieces to go through, and this has to do with a mini golf. We talked about it almost a year ago, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And
I'll
now
do a
we're
quick
back.
intro on this, and then I want to have Lois comment, because there's 2 parts to this. The first part is the rezoning. That's a technical piece, because when it was rezoned last year, it wasn't technically rezoned to the category it should have been. And that's not to blame the previous city planner or anybody else, but we want to get that corrected. But the bigger thing is what's going to happen down there and how that's going to make our community have a fun new amenity.
Absolutely, yes. South end of town, number 1. Is
Yeah,
going to be so
that'd be good.
excited. We do have things on the south end, but just one more reason. I know that they're going to have some struggles with going across the street because Vanderhay Waters is right across, and there'll be people using both entities.
Oh, yeah.
So they are going to come up with a plan to make some kind of a, and we're not sure what yet, but as it comes to fruition, these 2 young gentlemen said we'll do whatever we can because safety is number 1. Kudos to both of them because they are stepping outside the box. 18-hole mini golf. With the waterfalls, the plans, which was at the Plan Commission meeting Tuesday night, look fabulous.
It did.
I have
It does.
never even touched a golf club, but I'm thinking this might be the new way. I
Go for
don't
it.
know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's so exciting. We hope that we can iron out all the little things, and I'm sure we will as time comes on. There's just a couple little items that need to be kind of worked over, but these 2 are very professional, and the people they have working with them. And as far as the city goes, yeah, we are. I believe that the Plan Commission is all on board with this. I mean, we were so excited. 2 of the Plan Commission gentlemen congratulated them for, thank you for doing this. So that is a huge deal in my book, definitely. So yeah, we're more than excited.
Tom, I think we talk about the fact, and Lois mentioned it, that the south end maybe they cry out sometimes for more happening down there. And I get that totally. But if you put this mini golf together with Wildwood Zoo, the park, the Vanderhay Waters, that little area, that is going to be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Then once Jurassic Park comes in,
Oh my gosh.
we're going to be, the south end is going to be a whole new Marshfield.
Yeah, it's going to be a really cool complex.
Yes, absolutely.
And I was impressed too. When I heard a mini golf course, I thought, well, I've seen some of the ones that they're 9 holes and they really don't, just looks like little pieces of carpeting were thrown out or something, But no, this is really beautiful. The waterfall,
Yep.
the holes look really fun. And again, having a patio, a concession stand, it's going to be a nice place to go and enjoy with the family.
All right. Well, I'm sure you've played mini golf. You've had kids or your grandkids.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love mini golf.
No, you got to get out there and try it.
Yes, I know, but I'm not doing it till hopefully ribbon cutting. I can snap the first ball. Hope it doesn't go across the streets. Oh boy, that'd be my luck. But yeah. So we're just so happy to see yet another great new business come to Marshfield.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, both of you.
I think I'm going to say one more thing to add to what Lois said. There are people I hear from time to time about the things we don't have. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have this? If you focus on the things that we have and that we're getting, it's really pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, our town is just a little under 19,000 people. That's great to have some things for families to do and keep them here and
Absolutely.
use our restaurants and stay here for a weekend or during the week. So
Absolutely.
that's the goal.
Absolutely.
So, all right, well, let's move on now to some appointments. The mayor is done, and we're going to talk about Board of Review. And I believe there was 2 appointments on there.
Yes, there were 2 alternate appointments, and the city clerk is scrambling because their first meeting is June 1st. And I don't know if people just don't maybe really know what's going on with Board of Review because we didn't have anybody step up. So we did reach out to 2 former Board of Review people, okay? We did this only because we need to get this done before the 1st of June. I would have much rather seen people come forward. Well, next time it might happen. And
Right.
so we are so happy that it just feels much more comfortable now. Because, I mean, she's been running around with a chicken with the head cut off the last 3 days. And that's no lie. Yeah, and I get it, because this has to be done by the 1st of June per ordinance. So, yeah, I'm glad these 2 gentlemen stepped up. And within seconds of me asking, they both said yes. So I'm very happy with that. We have a couple other appointments, but those aren't so much in the forefront. And we'll get them. I mean, we always end up at some point, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
again, thank you, Tom, for what you guys have done. I mean, that extra.
Get the word out.
Wow. I mean, I'm impressed every time I open my email and I see stuff going on, and you just keep digging in, and yeah, we think that's just grand. Thank you.
Well, we'll keep doing that here.
Yeah,
Yes, please do.
You and your department have brought us forward so much in the last 4 years, and we talked specifically about getting the word out for committees, boards, and commissions. It's hard to find people.
Yep.
If I can touch on this one for a second, a lot of people at home might not know what the Board of Review is, because people are probably listening to us and thinking, reviewing what?
Right.
It has to do with property values. It's when you get your statement and it says that your property value went up from $200,000 to $230,000, and you might say to yourself, I don't agree.
Yeah.
I don't think my house size and the type of my home warrants that. And you talk to the assessor, and the assessor says, well, I'm sorry, we disagree. You can come to the Board of Review, make your case, show comparables, say, look, here's some houses in my neighborhood that are the same as mine, 2-story or whatever, and they're priced lower than this, they're valued lower than this. And the Board of Review's job is to decide if they're going to stick with the assessor, or if they really have been persuaded that the person making the claim differently has demonstrated a case. So it's an important role, very important, and we're really happy to see people step forward to be alternates.
Yes.
So people see their property values at tax time, correct?
Well, they see them at tax time, but they also see them when they get statements that change their values. And if I can point this out, sometimes people get confused about what goes into your taxes. People will say, well, my taxes went up, and your tax rate probably didn't go up, but the value of your house was bumped up because you added another room, or whatever you did. Those are 2 different things. The tax rate brought it up maybe, but sometimes it's the value of your house was increased because of improvements that you made to your property.
Okay, but that just can't happen without an improvement unless there's an actual, I don't know what the word is, it's not an assessment, but.
It is an assessment, and they'll notify you.
Okay.
You'll get a notice in the mail saying that, the value of your house is being increased from $200,000 to $230,000. And that's when you can go to the assessor and say, can we meet?
Okay.
Do you know my house? Have you been in my house? You can come in. It's really nothing extravagant. And then sometimes the assessor will agree when he sees it and say, oh, I guess I didn't know this.
Okay.
And sometimes they'll say, look, I've looked at other homes across the city and the increase is warranted. that's when you go to the board of review.
Got it. Because all year you can actually call the assessor and work with it.
Correct.
But if there just isn't a mutual agreement, or not mutual, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Board of review is here, and that's where these alternates here come in.
That is correct.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we need people, and if we have
Okay.
somebody can't make it, and that's what we have right now for June 1st, we need people to back them up.
Yes, yes.
All right, sounds good. That's
Yep.
coming up here in 2 weeks almost.
I know.
2.5
Really-
weeks.
really close.
June
Really
1st.
close.
Yep.
Doesn't
Really
feel
close.
like it
I
some
know.
days, especially today on Thursday as we're taping this.
Yeah,
It's a
Correct.
bit cool.
Oh, and a quick shout out. Oh my goodness sakes. Wenzel Plaza will be opening on the 1st of June
Oh,
also.
yeah.
I'll be pushing the button for the water to come
Yay.
through. So we'll be going through, getting all wet and having fun. And then the 6th of June, Vanderhay Waters will be opening.
That's right.
And then, of course, the Dairy Fest Parade will be the 2nd of June?
I think
oh
so.
boy,
Yeah,
3rd.
is that
Whatever the
It's
Saturday is,
Saturday,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's, again, we're just
I think
so
it's-
excited, like Steve said at the beginning.
Oh.
June is just gonna roll in, and the whole summer's gonna be great, and we're so excited for our little town. People just keep growing. And then, of course, the Senior Open is gonna be at the end of June, and we already see the hotel room is filled,
Yeah.
because they're coming from
We're
all
close to the
over.
point, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's great.
You throw in Friday night concerts and Hub City Days, and
Correct.
there's a lot to do here.
There is.
That is right. All right. Well, if people want to know where that is, it's on our website, Facebook pages, on this channel, on other channels that we do. Just go ahead and search, and you should be able to find a lot of good things happening. All right, we have a few minutes left, and let's talk about capital improvement, because really, that is a council meeting, and we have
It
one
is.
tonight. If you're watching this past that, you can watch that meeting on our platforms. So either way, if it's before, because I know sometimes this is already up before
Right.
you guys are back at City Hall.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, you're right.
And that's how fast David goes. And but let's hear what this is all about.
Yeah, and the second meeting will be on June 1st, which is also a
Yep.
Thursday night in a couple weeks.
Here we
But,
go.
you know, we only have a couple minutes, Tom. I think the main thing I want people to understand, this is our second most important financial document of the whole year. The budget, of course, is the big one everybody talks about. It ties to the tax levy. But this is where we look out in the next 5 years. How much money do we want to spend on big projects, major street repairs, facility upgrades, park improvements, and where will the money come from to do that? So it's online, and I would encourage people to, when the show is over, to go look online. You can look on the city's website, go under Finance Department, Capital Improvement Program, and you'll find it. But you see there right in front of you, $22.5 million of borrowing over 5 years. A lot of other funding sources come into play, from donations, grants, fees for service. Even we have some limited ARPA funds left from that federal program, and they all come together to help us finance some really important work.
All right. Well, I was just taking a glance at. I have a 200-page document on my desk that I printed yesterday.
Have you memorized it yet?
No, but I did want to look through it here. But you know, it's too much to dig into right now. But for people that are interested in learning more, like you say, June 1st, or if it's past, rewatch this meeting while we are covering it, and it'll be under our Common Council. It's just called the CIP.
Yeah, and there's a program or a line item called asphalt paving. That's the annual work we do of maintenance on streets. And you might see this, and you see $2 million in this year, $2.2 million in that year. You can contact our engineering staff and find out if your road is on the list, so that you'll know when it might be upgraded.
All right. Well, we're out of time for another program. Thank you so much for coming, Lois and Steve. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
And we'll be back again for the next council preview program in June. All right. Thanks for watching.
Hope to see you Tuesday, May 23rd, either at council chambers or sitting in your chair watching us at home.
All right. Thank you very much.